My name is Chris Shelton, and I'm a co-founder at Baysora Accounting Partners, and I would love to share a little bit about my prior experience in private equity and why that's not always the right decision for your firm. Prior to my role here at Baysora, I spent most of my career in institutional private equity, and so it's fair to say that I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly that industry has to offer. And while there are a lot of great people in private equity, the bad reputation that industry often has is not unfounded. And from my perspective, there are really two reasons that is the case. The first is the business model of private equity isn't necessarily aligned for long-term success of the firms that they partner with. Private equity firms are highly incentivized to raise the next fund as quickly as they can. As they're able to raise the next fund and stack funds sequentially, the management fees that they can charge their investors and the carry dollars that they can have at work are significantly higher. And so how do you raise the next fund quickly? Well, you take the money that's been committed to you and you deploy it as quickly as you can. You pump earnings in those investments, and then you sell those investments and return capital to LPs who will then commit to your next fund. Now, that's great for private equity investors, but what does it mean for the companies that they invest in? Well, it can lead to short-term decision-making to drive that profitability over that short timeline. And that's not always best for the culture at those firms, not great for the employees, and sometimes not very good for clients either. And from my perspective and what I've seen in my career, I've seen several companies that were great businesses before they partnered with private equity that were completely ruined by those private equity firms who were overconfident on some of the changes that needed to be made to the operations and went in and required significant changes, and ultimately those firms struggled as a result of it. The second reason that private equity can be challenging for your firm is that there's this detachment from the day-to-day operations. So you have a private equity investor over here, then you have the day-to-day operations of the company over here. And that detachment enables a private equity analyst to do some analysis in a spreadsheet, make a presentation to the investment committee that sounds really compelling in that spreadsheet and in that PowerPoint presentation, but the actual implementation of that change in the firm is much more difficult than they anticipate, particularly for the employees of that firm who have to actually carry out those changes. And so what happens is these firms are required to make significant operational changes, leadership, processes, systems, and integration in ways that can often be more harmful to the culture, to the employees and the clients than helpful. And as a result, those firms can struggle. But the private equity firm doesn't really have to be accountable for that because they can sell the firm and those problems become the problems of the next buyer and the employees that go with that firm. So at Baysora, we've really tried to control for those challenges that come with private equity. Number one, we are very long-term oriented. We have only taken capital from families who share our long-term vision. We are thinking in terms of decades, not in terms of years. We don't have the arbitrary timelines that private equity typically has. We can make long-term decisions that are always better for culture, always better for our employees, and always better for clients. The second piece is that we operate on a decentralized basis, and we don't mandate our firms to make operational changes. We see ourselves really as a service-based organization, and our clients are our member firms. We want to provide resources that are really optional for our member firms that we believe will help them to grow and succeed and accomplish their goals while preserving what's special about their culture. And then otherwise, we stay out of the way. We would love to talk to you more about your firm, your goals, what you're trying to accomplish over the long term, and how we feel that we can help through our shared resources and our long-term orientation.